With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Is something else going on right now? Is there something on the television? Is there some sort of sporting event, something streaming right now? I don't know what you're talking about, because the only big game in this household is the big game of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series, and we're on a road course, of course, for the first and only time this season. Welcome to Round 7 of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series in 2023, live from the road course at the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Hi everybody, Joey Tebben here, alongside Taylor Burris in the booth. Mike Yao is behind the scenes, deep into the night in Newcastle. But Taylor, it's the only road course round of the season. It's the Daytona road course, of course, slightly different from the layout we normally see run here in the 24 hours events, but all the same, when we go to one road course per season, there's a lot of drivers who have this circled as a place they can really excel.
It really is, and this is going to provide some exciting, great action all throughout the night here. I mean, we've seen this track utilized in PRL competition before, and it's always put on a decent show. But tonight, we're going to see how this plays out as we get closer and closer to another big race that's happening here at this very track.
It is a big month for Daytona. February is here. 2023 is flying by so far, but it's not quite over yet, and the season is not quite over yet either as we take a look at the rest of the schedule here for the PRL NASCAR Cup Series. Of course, this is the last round, actually, that doesn't sync up with the real-life NASCAR Cup Series schedule. Next week, we go off to the Daytona Oval, so we stay here in Florida. Then it's Auto Club Speedway in its sweetest form in the 2-mile oval before it is, as we believe, going to be reconfigured into a short track over the next 2 years. So we'll enjoy the D-shaped Auto Club while we still can, and then we'll have the championship finale at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in March, to end things off, rather. It's been quite a chaotic season, a sort of a legacy run to start the season with some older tracks, then the road course wildcard here, and then we finish it off in modernity, syncing up with the season. And those first couple of rounds, they've been absolutely dominated by Matthew Long. We've run 6 races this season. Matthew Long has won 4 of them. That's how strong he's been this season. Richard Regan Jr., James O'Brien, and Abner Acosta, though, and Chris Hudson for that matter, still within touching distance with 4 rounds to go. There are a lot of points still on the board, and especially for a driver like Abner Acosta and James O'Brien for that matter, who have tons of road course experience, tons of road course speed, this could be the week where that gap starts to come down just a little bit. Josh Daniels, Waldo Walden, Pat Harvey, Lou Christian, and Brett Pancari round out top 10 in the standings at the moment. That's the first time we've seen Brett Pancari in the top 10. Dirty South Racing, they've continued to extend their lead in the championship teams-wise a little bit. Love Racing and Private Label Team Hype tied for second. It's about a 44-point gap that they need to make up to catch up to Dirty South. Then SGE is 4th, 5th, and 7th. YS Motorsports, Yellow Stripe Motorsports find themselves even more separated in 6th and 9th. Private Label Team Hype Black have actually advanced up a spot into 8th, and Aero Kinetics, one of our newer teams this season, still in P10, within touching distance of Private Label Team Hype and YS. There might be a few more spots there on the board for them. Qualifying currently underway here at the Daytona Road Course, but before we can go any further, we have to thank all the people who make all of this possible here on RaceSpot. Of course, first and foremost, it's the VCO, the virtual competition organization, helping us out here at RaceSpotTV and helping make every single Precision Racing League broadcast possible this season and every season. This coverage is also brought to you by Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest, most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. And from Advanced Sim Racing, we slide over to Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and also get a 5% discount, also using the Precision 5 coupon code. And then from Racebox, it's over to RaceLab. It's all connected here. RaceLab Apps helps you improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. This coverage is also brought to you by The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products provide an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with The Butt Kicker. And new for this season, we're deep into the season, but they're still new, it's Mecha Sim Hardware. Mecha Sim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for a high-end pedal set, handbrake, or sequential shifter, visit Mecha Sim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed and check them out. And last but not least, it is Ninja Trader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Of course you are. Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, Ninja Trader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. Ninja Trader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. And as always, it's about time to start tracking some drivers' performance. And this is what it looks like as we see Eric Papineau take that unique chicane here, put in a couple of years ago when the NASCAR Cup Series did come to the Daytona Road Course in real life. They decided, you know what, we're going to put an extra chicane in here so drivers aren't braking before the start-finish line. And it's just one extra challenge for these drivers who may have turned a bunch of laps here a little bit earlier this month.
It really is, and this track here, of course, utilizing these next-gen cars, which are purposely really now built to race on road courses. I mean, we see it been happening last year and this year, of course, no longer racing at the Daytona Road Course like we see in years past, but this track here still can provide a lot of great racing action as we see Eric Papineau heading out there on the track, currently P13 out there with his qualifying run, looking to see if he can improve as he's 4.7 seconds back.
The Daytona Road Course first showed itself as Eric Papineau throws it off the road in the West Horseshoe. That's going to be the end of that run for him. We ride on board with Josh Daniels here. Back onto the oval he comes. Daniels always consistent. Currently sits in his favorite spot, third right now. Not the most road course experienced driver in the field, but he does have quite a bit. He's done some racing on the GT4 side in the PRL, GT3 as well. That's the thing about the Precision Racing League. There's so many series on offer every week. There's so many different disciplines that a driver in the Cup Series, for example, he might see, hey, you know what? RaceSpot's airing GT3 racing on Tuesday night in the same league. I might have to check that out. And you're seeing a lot of drivers who have diversified, really using that to their advantage. Most notably, of course, is your current pole sitter, Abner Acosta, who spent so much time on the open wheel side in the PRL and GT3 and open wheel. Took that to the NASCAR Cup Series and has mastered it in his own right. Lou Christian is back for yet another week, and there is the fifth member of the RaceSpotTV PRL NASCAR Cup Series crew on Wednesday nights. It's the world's shortest staircase. It is back, and Lou Christian trying to do it justice here. Currently sits P8, still getting his feet wet on the road courses. Usually only does the road course rounds in this series. We don't see him in any other series. Let's see if he can do the staircase some good.
He certainly is. He's going to really try to see if he can pick it up. He's about a second and a half off the pace right now to Abner Acosta as he tries to hit into the braking zone of that very tight, very treacherous chicane as they come out onto the front straightaway through the tri-oval. We're going to see a lot of chaos happening right there.
Definitely a place that's very, very treacherous on cold tires, especially if you're getting a little bit bouncy. Lou Christian crossed the line and did not improve. That was a 155.1 on that lap, so no improvement whatsoever for Lou Christian. still a couple of drivers who have yet to actually set a qualifying lap time. There's 2 drivers this week who were naughty last week. Matthew Long, who brought out a caution, as did Mark Kalin. They're not allowed to qualify this week, but lots of other drivers who are here in the field just not really electing, or they've made too many mistakes and they haven't been able to get out on track. Richard Regan Jr. crosses the line, P11 for him. For a driver in championship contention, with his rival Abner Acosta currently on pole, that's going to be a disappointing qualifying for Richard Regan Jr.
It really is a disappointing qualifying effort. He's got a lot of work to do here, but with the right strategy call, which this track in this car combination is best known for, we could definitely see that come into play.
Brett Pancari on screen right now in an interesting manufacturer. This is, of course, the Peugeot next-gen car, or the Peugeot next-gen car, depending on how you want to pronounce it, representing the French mark here. Of course, plenty of road course experience from that brand. Unfortunately, they skipped out on the Daytona 24. Peugeot, of course, have the hypercar program in the World Endurance Championship, but elected not to bring it over to Daytona for IMSA. They're not selling cars in the U.S. They thought there was no reason to, but Brett Pancari, doing the brand some justice in an honorary role, hops up to P12 in the dying seconds.
Certainly does. Of course, we'll see that car at Sebring in about a month's time.
We will indeed. Qualifying's over. Brett Pancari is going to check his phone, maybe check the RaceSpotTV broadcast for a few moments. And it shouldn't even really be a surprise. I should have had a soundboard ready for tonight, because who else could possibly be on pole in the PRL NASCAR Cup Series on a road course but Abner Acosta? It's expected at this point. For the 19th time in this series, Abner Acosta puts himself on pole. For the 52nd time overall in the PRL. That's how huge his record's been. But as usual as well, his teammate Trent Dinkle finds himself to his outside. Remember the last time we ran a road course in this series, it was at the Charlotte Roval a couple of seasons ago, or actually just last season, I believe. My mental math is correct. And Trent Dinkle beat Abner Acosta at his own game. That was sort of the switch of the tire apprentice becoming the tire wizard and beating Abner Acosta. But they start 1 and 2. James O'Brien, their teammate, starts 3rd alongside Josh Daniels. Chris Hudson, always in the top 5, no surprise there. And Robert Gamble, his best result of the season in qualifying in P6. Clayton Ham, P7 alongside Lou Christian. Pat Harvey was strong in practice, couldn't quite match it in qualifying. He starts alongside Byron Johnson. Then row 6, Robert Besaw Jr. and Brett Pancari. Richard Regan Jr. starts unlucky 13th alongside Waldo Walden. Brandon Walter starts alongside Eric Papineau. And Roy Grande, the last driver to set a qualifying lap time. Probably not a legitimate lap time. I don't think he's 13 seconds off the pace. He just might have run into a little bit of trouble. Matthew Long, your championship leader, disallowed from qualifying after bringing a caution out last week, so he's going to have a lot of work to do here, as will Mark Kalin for the same reason. Jeff Chandler, though, elected not to qualify. Aaron Beaver, Stephen Hassett, Jose the Funky Cold Medina, Tom Amasi, and Richard Pruitt all elected to do the same thing. They elected not to qualify. It's an interesting choice at Daytona, where it's a very long race. We've got 38 laps here on the clock. We'll be here for what we assume will be over 70 minutes. It's a very long race, but some drivers potentially not feeling their skills on the road courses, just electing to start from the back and hopefully pick up the pieces and get the rhythm going early.
Yeah, well, the one thing also you got to keep in mind as well, Joey, is the fact that there will be no full course yellows unless the track is completely blocked out there at Daytona. So this could be a little bit of an interesting scenario, but like you said, it could be about 70 minutes, so just shy of the 90-minute time window. And it's going to be all based on how you set up your strategy, as well as also how disciplined you will be with managing your equipment out there. You don't want to go through all your tires. We may see some drivers try and double stint.
It's a tire game. Abner Acosta and Trent Dinkle, they are absolutely your guys. That's kind of ironic to say, because last week at Iowa, Abner Acosta got beaten at his own game by Matthew Long. Long managed to get in front of Acosta. He saved his stuff from the lead of the race, and Abner ended up using his stuff up so much that he wrecked it out of second place. But he is on a comeback drive. He's the 2022 playoff champion in this series. He wants to be the Season 1 champion in 2023. The iRacing Porsche pace car brings everybody through that tight autocross chicane. They're going to reform the grid for about a moment until we get to the start-finish line. Barney the Flagman's already got the green flag in hand, and for the only time this season, we're green at a road course. Dinkle loses it through turn 1. Doesn't look like there was any contact, but Trent Dinkel trying to make the outside line work, gets it in a little bit too hot, and the one driver who can challenge Abner Acosta on a long run may already be in deep trouble.
This is going to be detrimental for him, as we see here. He's going to fall quite a ways back by the looks of it. He's going to be outside of the top 10 for the moment as we pick up the number 7 of Clayton Ham as they head through the kink over to the Western Horseshoe. They will make their way into the braking zone. But for Trent Dinkel, looking over at timing and scoring for the moment, he is going to be outside the top 10 in 11th. So he's recovered, but the problem is now he slid those tires. Those tires are not going to be that well managed at this time. So he's got to figure out a way to tiptoe his way through and make up time.
And it's not just Trent Dinkel. With that little moment, with his checking up, unfortunately, Josh Daniels had nowhere to go. He had to go off the track. Josh Daniels has fallen all the way to the back of the field. There's also been an issue for Pat Harvey. He's gone for a spin of his own. He's down to P15. Trent Dinkel's back into the top 9. It is all kicking off here at Daytona on lap 1.
Turn 6, when we call the transitioning. When you're transitioning from off the road course up onto the banking, is one of the most treacherous corners on this circuit. No matter what car you're racing, whether it be these big, heavy stock cars or the lightweight prototypes and GT cars that ran at the Rolex 24 at Daytona or the virtual Daytona 24, you have to be so careful with your throttle input when getting onto the throttle to climb the bankings here as they rocket off of turn 4.
All right, 1 lap in the books. That's all of the drama from lap 1 done here after about 2 minutes. Abner Acosta leads in a very comfortable position, but let's take a look back at that restart, or that initial start, rather. Trent Dinkel on the outside. He knows that he needs a great start here to put the pressure onto his teammate. Looks like he just got it in a little bit too hot into turn 1. He was fine on the brakes, and then the second they turn in, there he goes.
As they work their way through here, this is going to get exciting to watch, as we will see Trent Dinkel having to fight his way up through the field right now. As we go back live, we got a little bit of side-by-side battling as they head their way right into the International Horseshoe. That is the 37 of Eric Papineau picking up spot.
Eric Papineau moving his way forward in the world. Waldo Walden, a driver who also has road course experience here in the PRL. And Chris Hudson as well, up into second ahead of James O'Brien. Still just those teething issues for the drivers on the opening laps here. Cold tires, a road course we haven't run in quite a few seasons, but they're all back in the rhythm now. Abner Acosta, Chris Hudson, James O'Brien, your top 3. Josh Daniels tries to recover with a dive to the inside of Waldo Walden. Looks like that did work out. Look a little bit further forward once more. Lou Christian, as always, just kind of impressing us this season, frankly. I was trying to think of the best way to say that, but that's what I've said every single race this season. This has been a whole new Lou Christian. This is not a guy you necessarily circle when we come to a road course to say, you know, he'll be fighting for the podium. Well, look at this. He is.
He really is putting on a great drive right now for the moment here. And to give you an idea of how long it's been since the PRL Cup Series has raced at the Daytona NASCAR road course, was back in Season 1 of 2022. So it's been just about a year coming about here to see how this will play out. In fact, that was the year I ran this event here, and it was a little bit chaotic, I'll have to say.
Were you part of the chaos, Taylor? Were you part of the chaos?
A little bit.
Just a little bit?
Yeah, just a little bit. Not as bad as what we're probably going to see here tonight or what we've seen in other road course events here, but unfortunately I was DNF'd at the time, even though I love racing at this road course.
Trent Dinkel is not DNF'd. Remember lap 1? Remember when we showed you that replay and he spun and he fell to P12? Well, we've looked away for a couple of moments and Trent Dinkel suddenly finds himself back in the top 5, only 5 seconds behind Abner Acosta, with a car that's basically damage-free. I don't think we can count Trent Dinkel out for second place at the very least, or even the win if there's a mistake from Abner Acosta. There's still a little bit of a hornet's nest back here as Roy Grande is trying to find his feet. He had a little bit of trouble in qualifying. He's currently fighting with Richard Pruitt, who didn't have very much practice time. I think he was watching the start of the game. But here is Trent Dinkel to the inside of Lou Christian. He knows he has to get aggressive here. That gap to Acosta is only growing, and he needs to bring that down as fast as he can here with that disadvantage on lap 1.
He certainly is. He's got a lot of work to do. 5.3 seconds may not seem like a lot on a road course, but with these stock cars, you have to be careful of where you're going to set yourself up and try to find ways to make gains. He's currently picked up about 0.2 of a second as they head over into what is now called the Le Mans chicane now. as we get on board with Trent Dinkle, him now focused, and he's got a big run coming up to catch up to Luke Christians.
To the outside on the oval. That's how much momentum he had. He's not going to be able to do anything with it, though. The momentum checked up a little bit for Trent Dinkle through the bus stop. Should be fairly easy pickings on Luke Christian and James O'Brien, but it's one thing to have an easy overtake ahead of you. It's another thing to actually make that overtake and find the place to do it. Trent Dinkle's got the pace right now, but he can't quite make the move because he's catching Luke Christian at all the worst moments in all the worst places. See if he can go for it in turn one.
He's going to try to set himself up for a great run down into turn one to the inside. Beautiful pass set up there with Luke Christians to the inside. Leaves plenty of room and now sets his sights on his teammate, James O'Brien.
James O'Brien, a very good road course racer in his own right. You know, he's been racing in the IRO 4 series. As I say that, he loses it through the International Horseshoe. A very good save, but Formula Drift, not necessarily the fastest discipline around here at Daytona. James O'Brien inadvertently opens the door for his teammate. Trent Dinkle's up to third, and James O'Brien's got a little bit of tire cooling to do.
He certainly does. We're going to see how this will play out with these competitors working their way through out of the Western Horseshoe. He has moved up to P3, setting his sights on Chris Hudson. How about this battle right here between James O'Brien and Luke Christians? O'Brien sends it in a little bit deep into the transitioning and will try to pull away, but here comes Luke Christians back on with a head of steam. How about Robert Gamble right there behind in the catbird seat? See if he can break into the top 5 tonight.
Yeah, this is a Robert Gamble we haven't seen really all season. He's been around on the ovals, I'll say that much, but on the road courses, clearly Robert Gamble has found some speed here, qualifying in the top 6, running in the top 6 ahead of Clayton Ham. This has been easily his best race of the season. O'Brien gets to the back of Luke Christian onto the entry into the bus stop. Just like his teammate Trent Dinkle, though, can't do anything with the momentum, has to check up a little bit, and now Robert Gamble's on the scene. He might want a top 5 out of this.
He's going to see what he can do here as they make the run down out of NASCAR turn 3 and 4 into the secondary chicane and setting up for a good run. You have to be so careful because the curbs here at the virtual Daytona NASCAR road course are so treacherous and detrimental to your car as we watch Richard Reagan Jr. trying to climb his way up through the field, currently inside the top 10, trying to find his way around the 7 of Clayton Ham.
Yeah, this is a disappointing race, I think, for Richard Reagan Jr. right now. He's had a ton of success on road courses, especially in the endurance side, with Precision Racing Esports and the Majors M-Tech Series and the iRacing Daytona 24. But he's a little bit on struggle street right now as he has passed Robert Besaw Jr., but Clayton Ham, decent road course racer in his own right. That's going to be quite a difficult competitor. Josh Daniels, remember him? Remember he had a little bit of trouble on lap 1. He got displaced by Trent Dinkle, but he's back up into P11, and Richard Reagan Jr. and Clayton Ham refuse to leave each other's side.
He's going to try to set himself up here for a great run down into the corner as they set over towards the Western Horseshoe. And Richard Reagan Jr. now in 7th place. He's got a little bit of work to do to catch up to the next driver up ahead of him as they come out of the Western Horseshoe. Really great drive here as he is about 3 seconds back from Robert Gamble.
We're going to 38 laps here in the race tonight. That's what we're scheduled to run. I don't think we'll hit the 90-minute time limit, so I will keep you updated on the lap counter. Currently still on lap 5, so we got plenty of time here. 33 more laps to go. We're not even thinking about the end of the race just yet. We're barely getting started here, but we are getting started to feel some wear on the tires a little bit. We're 5 laps into the stint. We're a couple of miles in. I need to do the calculations in my head. How many miles is 5 laps of the Daytona road course? Either way, it is starting to get into that point where the tires aren't as fresh as they once were at the start. We're starting to get into the heat of the run. Things are starting to get a little bit hot under the cockpit. This is when trouble can start to happen as we try and find the rhythm.
This is going to be exciting here to see how this will play out and see how all this racing action will be as they continue to work their way down over onto the tri-oval. And Richard Reagan Jr. just being very smooth and consistent as we ride on board with Gamble as he is trying to stay within the top 6.
He's definitely keeping pace with James O'Brien right now, so it's still a very, very solid race for Robert Gamble. Trent Dinkle, by the way, did get by Chris Hudson, so he's recovered every spot he's lost. Unfortunately, it's going to be a far more difficult time recovering the time he's lost. He may be back up into second, but he's got 5.5 seconds up to his teammate Abner Acosta. And for two drivers who are basically dead even, whether you put them on a road course or whether you put them on an oval, Abner Acosta and Trent Dinkel are equal on pace. It's going to be a gargantuan task to bring down a 5.4-second gap.
It certainly is, and it's going to be a lot of work indeed here. It's going to be a lot of strategy calls to come into play to see how this will play out as we pick up a couple of more drivers. Eric Papineau making a beautiful pass around Brent Pancari for the 13th position. As he sets himself out, now can Pancari or Waldo Walden respond? Those three are going to go nose to tail as they head over into turn 6.
I'm thinking about Eric Papineau's road course experience right now, and I don't think there's very much outside of PRL road course races and outside of real sim racing road course races in the same car, in the next-gen car on Monday nights. But yeah, he's representing himself pretty well against Brett Pancari and Waldo Walden, both of whom have raced on the road courses in the PRL. But here's Trent Dinkel's move on Chris Hudson. Not really a fight there. Chris Hudson knows what's coming. He knows Trent Dinkel has the run. He lifts off just a little bit early to let Dinkel by. One of the easiest passes you can possibly make. It's good to have a buddy fighting for the podium.
It certainly is. So we're going to see how this will play out as they make the run down over in towards the NASCAR turn 3 and 4. Utilize a good little bit of drafting to come into play for some of these competitors. Help draw yourself up, but you got to make sure you give yourself plenty of room as you head into the chicane here off of NASCAR 4. As we ride on board with Waldo Walden right here, you want to be careful with the curves because those are definitely not the ones you want to hit. I've seen a couple of drivers racing at this circuit where they hit that curve and it absolutely destroys the underside of these next-gen cars.
Waldo Walden and Walter managed to avoid the turtles. He had a pretty good run there, not quite good enough to get to the inside of Brett Pancari. And look in the distance there, behind Waldo Walden. Who is that? That's Matthew Long. Remember, disallowed from qualifying for bringing out the caution last week at a road course. That is a pretty harsh sentence. But again, he's been slowly but surely moving his way forward as Waldo Walden tries to put the bumper to Brett Pancari. Matthew Long's right behind him.
He is definitely going to put the pressure on as Waldo Pancari, and then there you see the 28 machine right there in hot pursuit. Matthew Long really having a little bit of a quiet drive even after his penalty. Same thing with Mark Kalin in the 17th position as everyone's trading positions now as they work their way through. And unfortunately for Eric Papineau, he's dropping back further.
Oh dear, Eric Papineau, I was just complimenting him on a great run. I think he got into a little bit of trouble at one of the horseshoes. We'll have to see what happened to Papineau there, but Walden and Pancari, they're still going at it. Our championship leader, Matthew Long, doesn't necessarily like what he's seeing there. We'll see that in the bottom of our screen. Here's what happened to Eric Papineau. Through the kink, everything's going great. And then under braking into the west horseshoe. Just a little bit too late in the brakes, gets a little bit squiggly, and loses all those spots he was holding back.
Yeah, definitely going to be a little bit of a difficult situation here as we keep an eye on this. As they work their way up on through the Le Mans chicane and heading into NASCAR turn 3 and 4. But for the driver of that number 28 machine of course, Loving, he is going to be on the move up through the field and definitely try to see what he can do as we watch him work his way through. Matthew Long definitely going to try to make his way through as he tries to get around Waldo Walden for position as Waldo shuts the door on him.
I encourage everybody to rewind the broadcast there and look at that move in the bus stop again, because that was phenomenal. We'll get another replay up for you, but around the outside of the bus stop, normally when you're the championship leader in Matthew Long's situation, you're probably thinking, let's not put up too much of a fight here. Let's make sure we can survive. Let's make sure we can finish the race. We've got a big championship lead. No, Matthew Long wants the positions when they come around the outside in the bus stop on Brett Pancari. That was a great move. That was a move of a champion.
That certainly was a move of a champion. He is definitely going to try to showcase some amazing talent here tonight as they make the run over through the corner and head off in towards the kink. And now we see right here from that 28 machine. He is going to try to see if Matthew Long can get to the inside of Waldo Walden. Not close enough to make anything happen as Kalen's right there. Here comes now Long to the inside of Walden as Walden washes up the racetrack and opens the door.
It's a little bit like running the 24 hours of Daytona. It's a little bit like a multi-class race. He's made it through the lap traffic. Now he's got some empty track in front of him for the next position. But here is that move. Pancari tried to go side-by-side with Walden through the bus stop, or through the Le Mans chicane, rather, as it's now known. And Matthew Long just took advantage of that one little bobble to go around the outside in the second half of the Le Mans chicane. And there goes Matthew Long up into P14. Then on Waldo Walden up into unlucky 13th. I don't think we can count Matthew Long out for a top 10 here. He's got quite a bit of ground to make up, but he's also got quite a bit of time to do it. There's still 30 laps left in this race.
There certainly is still 30 laps and a lot of different strategies that can come into the play here as they work their way through this track here. Watching on, we see the 67 of Pat Harvey in that SGE Esports machine. We're trying to find a way to recover after his spin on the opening lap.
I've done the math in my head. It's 3.5 miles around the Daytona road course, so one more mile than if you were doing an oval circuit here. Do the math, when we get to 10 laps, that's 35 miles. Again, short by full race terms, but definitely long in terms of driving a car around a road course. Pat Harvey locks it up a little bit into the International Horseshoe, slides it a little bit on the exit. It's still early in the run. We're not even halfway through the first stint pretty much, but drivers definitely taking advantage of these tires. It's a pretty warm day at Daytona, I think, as it usually is in Florida, so you especially don't want to be using up the tires too early. 88 degrees Fahrenheit. Actually kind of cool by Florida standards, but still, in terms of a racetrack temperature, it's still decently hot for a road course.
It certainly is going to be decently hot for a road course. A lot of things still happening here as they work their way through around the circuit, back up onto NASCAR Turn 1 and 2. And speaking of which, Abner Acosta setting the fastest lap of the race last time by as he continues to extend his race lead over Trent Dinkle now, who has moved back into P2, 5.2 seconds ahead.
Yeah, Trent Dinkle actually just set his fastest lap of the race on the last lap. That graphic was a little bit delayed. Abner's fastest lap was a couple of laps ago, but Abner's last lap, a 1:52.4. Dinkle's last lap, a 1:52.0. I mentioned that Trent Dinkle had that big gap. It would be difficult to bring it down, but if he's delivering laps like that, if Trent Dinkle is truly faster than Abner Acosta, he does have time to bring that gap down.
Certainly is a lot of time to bring that lap down as they head through the back chicane here and put on a stellar drive between these two competitors as we watch this battle a little further back between Pat Harvey and I believe that is trying to get the number off of that Toyota right in front of Ham right here. So this battle is still going to rage on for the 8th position.
Ham and Harvey sounds delicious, but Pat Harvey not able to do anything through turn 1. I think Mark Kalin, unfortunately, has gotten into a little bit of trouble further back. I saw him fall out of the top 15. He showed up a little bit earlier here before the broadcast in our broadcast booth here. Charles Sumner, the normal administrator for this series, not here tonight. So Mark Kalin, I think, kind of taking his powers for the night, kind of making sure everybody's within line here, making sure everybody is watching their screens, not focused on anything else in another screen. But unfortunately, even though he told us he didn't want his night to end in the opposite direction, he has been in the opposite direction for a few moments. It's not over, though. Still got time to recover as Pat Harvey and Clayton Ham still going at it. For as long as you can talk about Mark Kalin, these two are still going to be giving each other the business, and Pat Harvey puts a little bit of a bumper to Clayton Ham coming back onto the oval.
It's going to be even more exciting to see how this will play out as they work their way through, back up through the oval. Now he's right on board with Pat Harvey. He's going to get a little bit of a tow out of NASCAR Turn 2, but now we see him starting to lose a ton of time from Clayton Ham as they make their way down the back straightaway, heading over to the Le Mans chicane. And as they enter into the braking zone, down the gears they will click their way through, heading into that chicane, really hitting the curbs. You got to be careful with how much curb you want to take, especially on that last set of curbs before you head over to NASCAR 3 and 4.
For as much faster as Pat Harvey, the Wonder Hamster, is compared to Clayton Ham, we're kind of seeing the effects of the momentum here. If you go for a move a little bit too early, if you do get into the back of your rival, for example, like Pat Harvey did on Clayton Ham, he stunted his momentum coming onto the oval. That gave him a worse run coming into the bus stop. He had a worse run through the bus stop of the Le Mans chicane, and that's basically killed his chance for the whole second half of the lap. You've got a very long straight, but in these next-gen cars, the draft's not necessarily as effective as it would be in a GT3 car, for example, and Pat Harvey's learning that the hard way.
Pat Harvey is indeed learning that the hard way, and he's got to be careful with trying to find ways to make it work for him as he progresses, heading into the International Horseshoe, hits the braking zone. A little bit of a walk-up right there for Clayton Ham. This opens the door for Pat Harvey to sneak his way down to the inside, move him up a spot.
I've been doing Where in the World is Kevin Sandiego for so long, I think I've really been missing the opportunities for Harvey the Wonder Hamster. So I think we're going to have to make that a thing for the next couple of weeks, because Harvey making a very impressive pass there into the International Horseshoe. We look a little bit further forward. James O'Brien has been displaced from the top 5. Robert Gamble having his best race ever in the PRL. It's gotten even better. He's in the top 5 for the first time.
And he's really having a great drive right now as he continues to put on a stellar performance here for James O'Brien. As he works his way up, he is now going to hold on to the top 5, or actually now 6th position, as we saw Robert Gimbel get by him momentarily. But really not just taking his time, not wanting to press the issue this early in the game. Maybe see about conserving a little fuel to where he has to come down pit road and not put as much in.
That is something we're going to have to think about here in a few laps' time. As Abner Acosta crosses the line, it's going to be lap number 11 for him. Halfway will be lap 19. We imagine a lot of drivers are just going to split this directly in half. That's usually what happens in these road course races, but the question is going to be, do you double stint the tires, so to speak? Do you switch tires? Is there going to be any advantage in the pit stop? That's the question all the drivers are asking themselves right now. If you look at our leaders, Acosta and Dinkel are running more or less the same lap times they've been running since the start of the race. Abner's about 4/10 off, Dinkel's about 2/10 off. Chris Hudson's only 1/10 off his starting speed, so a lot of drivers are going to be asking themselves the question, is it worth it to take that extra time to change the tires in the pit stop?
Yeah, it really is. You got to be careful of how you want to set yourself up here for a bit of a run as you progress your way through the stage of the race. There's still a lot of bit of racing left to go as we see Abner Acosta now starting to pull away. There you see Trent Dinkel right there just as he comes off. He's been able to pick up a couple of second-tenths on his teammate right here for the race lead, as there you see Trent Dinkel working his way on to turn 6, up onto the banking he will go.
Just got big news in my inbox from Precision Racing League head honcho Jerome Bertiome. 2023 Season 2 signups are now open. We got 3 more weeks left to go in this season, but Season 2 is now open for the general public. Returning drivers have mostly signed up, and now it's time for everybody else who wants to race in the Precision Racing League next season. So if you've been watching these broadcasts here on RaceSpotTV, if you've been hearing from drivers that they're having such a great time in the Precision Racing League, well, now you've got your chance. The signups are now open. You can go to precisionracingleague.com to sign up for any one of the series. There's all of the same series from this season, but there is a new series for next season, or rather a sort of a combined series for next season. On Monday nights for the past couple of seasons, we've had the MX-5 Cup Series. This season, we've had the GR86 Series. Next season, what's better than both of those things? It's combining both of them. It'll be an MX-5 GR86 multi-class series, sort of similar to the Production Car Challenge Series in the official series on iRacing. It comes to the PRL, and we've got a new season, or a new series, rather, coming up next season, which is always very exciting.
Very exciting indeed. Looking forward to see how this will play out for all of the drivers who want to sign up. So if you want to go and have some fun in probably one of the most top series that offers so many different forms of racing, then go sign up with the PRL.
And there are open spots in every single series. I did look through the sign-ups before we came on air here. Every night, from Sunday to Thursday, there are plenty of open spots for anybody who wants to go PRLing for the first time, whether it's open wheel, GT3, series I mentioned, GT4, NASCAR Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. There's everything you could ever want. So come race with us in Precision Racing League. We always love to see new drivers and bigger fields, and you'll get to race against some of the guys you see here on RaceSpotTV all the time, like Mr. James O'Brien, one of the OGs of the series. He's been here since the very beginning. He's been here since before the Precision Racing League was actually called the Precision Racing League, I think. But now that it is the Precision Racing League, he's got a new name in Robert Gamble to go toe-to-toe with.
He certainly does. He's going to put on a great drive right now as we pick up the rest of the field, working their way through NASCAR turns 1 and 2. Stellar drive for these competitors here as they work their way through. A lot of separation. Everyone now just trying to set themselves up for a rhythm, trying to see if they can get themselves set up for a little bit of a run late in the going here, and seeing when that time will be to come down pit road and top off the fuel, get some tires, or choose to take no tires.
I started to hint at this a couple minutes ago, but James O'Brien has turned a whole new road course leaf this season in the IRO4s. He's been racing in the PRL IRO4 series for a couple of seasons, but in the first 2 seasons he ran, he said, you know what, I'm not going to qualify for any races. I'm going to start from the back of the grid. I'm just gonna pick up whatever comes to me. I'm going to try and learn some racecraft. I'm going to do some actual racing, learn some road course skills. And he did. He had a couple of good results, but he was never able to fight for podiums or for wins because he was literally starting from the back every week. That was just too much work to do. This season, he's finally decided to qualify. He's finally showing his true potential. He got a 2nd place at Okayama a couple of weeks ago. He's been fighting for wins. He has found his feet on the road courses. albeit in a car that probably weighs about a quarter of a next-gen.
It's really going to be exciting to see how this will play out here and watching these competitors try to set themselves up as we watch James O'Brien try to close the gap between him and Robert Gamble for a chance to move him back into the top 5 as they head through the kink. Really patient, just tiptoeing his way through, making sure he can set himself up to opportunities. As we saw Gimbal lock up the tires, this is the opportunity that James is needing as he gets loose off the Western Horseshoe.
Basically, every single time we see a driver under pressure coming through one of the horseshoes, it is heavy lockups. It is heavy smoke coming out of those brakes, coming out of those tires. And they're difficult braking zones, whether it's in a next-gen car or in a GT3 car or a prototype. They're bumpy. You're kind of braking outside of a straight line. They're very, very difficult, and especially in a car like this, which is designed to race on the road courses, like Taylor mentioned a little bit earlier, but it is still a stock car. It's still an oval race car. It's still very lumbering and uncomfortable to get slowed down.
It certainly is very lumbering indeed to get it slowed down. You have to be so careful with how you want to set your pace and set the run in this stage of the race. As the tires are starting to fade away just a little bit, you don't want to overcook them in the braking zones.
Is the Josh Daniels hive currently representing? If the Josh Daniels hive is out there, guess what's just happened? Your boy is up into P10. He's made the move on Robert Besaw Jr., and Josh Daniels, after checking up behind Trent Dinkle on lap 1, after falling literally to dead last, he's made 14 passes, 15 passes. He's up into the top 10. As we take a look at his old buddy, Chris Hudson, this is like the furthest they've been from each other all season. I've mentioned every single week this season that Hudson and Daniels, they're basically destined to find each other on track. This week, the Trent Dinkle gods had other ideas, and Chris Hudson's probably pretty lonely right now. Look at his lonely little face. Can see the inputs. Heavy focus. I think he may have actually gotten a haircut since we last saw him, which is interesting. Might have to ask him about that. But the Krispy Kreme entry, a familiar paint scheme as much as it changes every season. Chris Hudson on the podium right now on a road course. I will have to check the data. I'll check that in a matter of moments here. See if he was on the podium at the Charlotte Roval. If I'm remembering correctly, he may have been the third driver on the podium at the Charlotte Roval in our last road course race, but I don't remember. What I do know is that Josh Daniels isn't done with the top 10. He wants Clayton Ham. It's 7 versus 77, and Josh Daniels wants P9. Just some slight technical difficulties with Taylor Burris right now, so we won't have him for a few minutes. He'll be back when he's back. For now, it's a personal affair with you and I here, you and me, the viewer and the commentator, alone at the Daytona road course. So it's going to be a slightly less professional affair, slightly less contained affair. It's a little bit radio style. It's like we're talking to each other through some music right here. But Josh Daniels, not necessarily in the draft of Clayton Ham here, coming into the new chicane, or the old chicane rather. A little bit of a wider line, a little bit of an earlier braking marker. Doesn't get to the inside of Clayton Ham, but he's still putting the pressure on. It's a great exit. Josh Daniels might have a shot into turn 1. Here he comes. And as quickly as he gets to the inside, as quickly as he is clear into turn 1, Josh Daniels now up into P9. Richard, slight difficulties for myself there. I'm destroying all the things on my desk here. But Josh Daniels, next up in his list, 2.5 seconds up the road is Richard Regan Jr. But you just saw Josh Daniels take half a second out of Richard Regan Jr.'s gap in one braking zone, so he's not done. We'll look a little bit further back, because the battles are still everywhere on track, which is pretty remarkable with how many cars are in this field, with how long it's been. But Brandon Walter and Aaron Beaver have found each other for P18. Beaver's later on the brakes into turn 1. Walter a little bit stronger on the exit, though. They're basically dead even out of turn 1. They've decided to switch up their strengths here into the International Horseshoe. Walter outbrakes himself again. That's going to bring Beaver back into contention. Eric Papineau, remember what happened to him a little bit earlier as well? A little bit of an oopsie into the West Horseshoe, lost about 5 spots. He was holding all these guys behind him. He's got to get all those spots back. Brett Pancari coming up next. And that's about the last driver on his list right now. Waldo Walden has checked off about 7 seconds into the distance, but Eric Papineau's not worried about that. He sees Princess Daisy ahead of him. He sees a big orange Peugeot in front of him. He wants P15. If there's any questions in the chat, I'm going to go Daytona 24 mode here while we're waiting for Taylor Burris to sort out the unfortunate technical issues that have befalled him. If you have any questions in the chat, if you're one of those drivers, for example, who wants to sign up in Season 2 here in 2023 for the PRL, drop them in. We are a question and answer line here. We have every answer you could ever want about the PRL, about iRacing, about whatever. Black holes, that's what we were talking about in the Daytona 24. Who knows? I'll answer it. But Aaron Beaver here, he's not giving Brandon Walter any respite. Under braking, he's as close as he was coming into turn 1 in the last lap. Brandon Walter thought he might have an easier job. He might have an easy job if Aaron Beaver disappears from the plane of existence, but for now, he's still got some big pressure here. Eric Papineau, I mentioned he was looking forward on Brett Pancari. He might have bigger issues behind him, as Stephen Hassett is on the attack for P16. He wants to dump Eric Papineau even lower. Matt Schaefer in our YouTube chat asks, what's the price of eggs? Well, that's a good question. That changes every day. That depends on what store you go to. I actually still had some eggs in my refrigerator today. I made a boxed mochi cake with them from Trader Joe's, and I didn't think they would be good. I bought them, what was it, like 2 months ago, but I looked at the date on the eggs, and eggs stay good for a very long time. You know, you can buy eggs, you can keep them in the fridge for 2 months, and they're still good, so you don't need to throw out eggs early. You're learning good grocery tips here on RaceSpotTV. I'm like Ellen. Or Steph from Steph's Packed Lunch, if you want to be British. That reference was for one person, and I hear producer Mike Yao in my ear go, I have no idea who Steph is. That's very disappointing, but maybe somebody will get that in the future. But Richard Regan Jr., he's getting a packed lunch of his own off of the chicane, in big trouble, a big wiggle. Here comes Josh Daniels to the inside, and as difficult of a journey as Josh Daniels thought that might be, Richard Regan Jr. made it pretty easy for him. Daniels up into P8. Remember, he qualified in the top 4, the top 5, so still a couple more spots on the cards here for Josh Daniels. He needs to hold back an attack from Richard Regan Jr. And I think Taylor Burris is back from technical dungeon.
Yep, I am back. Sorry about that, of course. I had to say this is the first.
And Regan loses it.
Around he goes at the moment, as he now has to fall back. He'll cut through the grass and take a tow.
Oh, I don't know why he did that. He could have just taken the horseshoe again, but Richard Regan Jr. has a little bit of a spin off of the International Horseshoe, and Alex, you know what? I think I'm done. Maybe he got disqualified for driving in the wrong direction. I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, he turned it around to go in the correct direction.
Yeah, if he was thinking about fighting for the championship, that may be that's a big kicker. He's already used one of his drop weeks with week 2 when he had an accident with Clayton Ham, I believe, in Michigan. So that would become his drop, or that will stop being his drop week if he does elect to drop this week if he has to. So that's a big hit for Richard Regan Jr.'s championship challenge. Let's take a look again at what happened between him and Josh Daniels into the International Horseshoe. Everything's good, and it all falls apart on exit.
Comes off corner exit here, tries to cross over the driver of Josh Daniels. It loses it off corner exit, and watching him, he'll go through the grass, and technically it's not the wrong way he's pointed. I think that's a tow.
I just don't understand that, because he was still on the lead lap. He still had some opportunities, but maybe he thinks, you know what, there's another thing going on the television right now. I'm not having a good race anyway. I might have another commitment to go to. But that is disappointing. Richard Regan Jr. out early. He's going to join nobody else. He's our first actual DNF. Roy Grande has been in the pits since the start of the race, basically, but he's still technically in session, interestingly, and Mark Kalin as well has gotten some heavy damage. He's 2 laps down now, so things have gone from bad to worse for Mark Kalin. I believe my timing is correct. Robert Bissaw Jr. and Clayton Ham, though, we can look away for as long as we want. We can focus on the leaders. We can focus on the drivers who are out. It doesn't matter. Every single place we look on track, there's some battle.
There really is. There's a battle, whether for one or two cars battling for one spot or multiple cars, as we watch this battle between Papineau and Robert Besaw Jr., and the 7 of Clayton Ham as they make the run down the short chute over to turn 6. The New York native really putting on a stellar drive, staying inside the top 10 most of the night.
Another one of those drivers who's just so experienced in the Precision Racing League. Robert Besaw Jr. has been here not since the very beginning, if my memory serves me correctly, but he has been around for a very, very long time in the Precision Racing League. Many, many starts, many wins. And you compare that with Clayton Ham, who's now an experienced driver in the PRL after 2-3 seasons of competition, but still it's the new faces versus the old faces in the PRL. Somehow still matched on skill, though. Or on speed, rather.
They certainly are. They definitely are. They're usually around each other each and every week. We watch them compete here in the PRL Cup Series as they work through NASCAR Turn 3 and 4. You see the lines of choices for the two competitors. Clayton Ham decided to take a little bit of a higher line while getting in set up for the braking zone. We saw then the driver of Robert Besaw take a little bit lower, about half a lane lower, as now we see Besaw Jr. decide he's going to come down pit road.
And here we are, halfway in the race, lap number 19 in the books, lap number 20 on the cards. SGE Esports currently doing some team tactics right now. Lou Christian is in, Robert Besaw Jr. is in, and we'll see if any of their SGE teammates like to follow him in, but Lou Christian going by the books, Besaw as well. You get to halfway in the race, you pit.
Not a bad idea as we watch the 97 machine out on the track right now. That is Aaron Beaver. A little bit of a quiet night, and same thing with Brandon Walters. Both of those two struggling to try to find ways to work their way up to the field.
Waldo Walden is in. Eric Papineau is in. It is all SGE all the time. I think they're probably on a Discord call with each other saying, you know what, halfway in the race, let's all come in here. Let's sync up our strategies. And it's worked decently well. Well, I can't say it's worked decently well for them, but we'll see. Can they get a little bit of an undercut? It's been about 12 seconds in the box for every single one of them, so I think they have elected to take tires, which is very interesting, but I still don't know if that's going to be the move, especially for our leaders. Abner Acosta and Trent Dinkle still running within 0.2 of their fastest laps. I don't think taking tires would really do anything, as right on cue, there go both of the private label team hype drivers into the pits.
Here they go as they make their way down onto pit road. The question is going to be, how much time can Abner Acosta do in his pit stop to pull away from Trent Dinkle? And how much time could Trent Dinkle gain on his pit stop? We're about to find out here with the different strategy calls as they enter into their box.
Bad news for fans of Mark Kalin. You can see his highlighter yellow Miracle Flow number 62 in the background. He said he's parking it. It's over for Mark Kalin. Abner Acosta out of the pits now. Trent Dinkle going to follow him out. And everybody else is also in. Chris Hudson's in. O'Brien, Harvey, Josh Daniels should be in. Robert Gamble stays out, interestingly, but doesn't actually get the lead for his efforts. Abner Acosta still holds on. Trent Dinkle might have some trouble in between him and his teammate now.
There, I'm looking over and seeing here, I don't know if we're back live or not, but Abner Acosta still out on the turn. There we go. Now everything is caught up now, as we're seeing here. As Acosta now will continue on his way, heading over to the Western Horseshoe. But yeah, unfortunately for Robert Gamble, he will not get the race lead with that strategy call, so he's got to be careful to see how much time he's going to be able to lose on the competitors and how many positions he'll lose if he comes down pit road.
I'm trying to do some math in my head as well. Has Dinkle brought the gap down at all? It's fluctuating, and with Robert Gamble in the middle, I got to do some mental math. It's about 4-ish seconds now. I don't remember the gap when they came into the pits. I think it was a little bit higher than that, but Dinkle has still been inching forward. He's been clipping away at the gap. He needs to take some bigger clips or hope that Abner Acosta makes a mistake, though, because we are now into the second half of the race. We've got 18 laps left to go with a 4-second gap. Even if we are making that liberal estimate of a 4-second gap, Dinkle would need to be, do the math in my head here, about 0.3 a lap faster than Acosta to catch him before the end of the race.
Now, Joey, you know better. We don't do math when
we don't do math in the booth, but I'm it's so hard because it's an odd number. It's a weird number of laps. It's weird division. I need a calculator.
All right, let's get the calculator out and start doing math as we now see Trent Dinkle now catch up to the back bumper of the 24 machine as he's coming down pit road again.
Oh, dear. It's all falling apart for Trent Dinkle. He got held up by the number 24 coming into the chicane. That dropped him out a full 5 seconds back to Abner Acosta, and now he has to serve a drive-through potentially. No, it's worse than a drive-through. As Trent Dinkel sped entering the pits, he overshoots his box for good measure. What has happened to Trent Dinkel? It's all falling apart.
It really has. This will move Chris Hudson back up to P2. Luke Christian's in P3. So by the looks of it, it's a penalty.
So it looks like it's about a 30-second stop and go. So is Trent Dinkel too fast entering pit road? I think that's exactly what happened. Trying to catch his teammate, trying to bring down the gap as much as he can on the brakes coming into the pits. And Trent Dinkel got a little bit too greedy. He exits the box now after 29 seconds. And Dinkel is just barely hanging on to the top 10.
And with this pit exit here at the Daytona road course, it's not like what it used to be. Remember, usually when you come just out of the pit road normally, you're able to floor it and go once again. Now, it's not like that. You have to tiptoe your way off pit exit and then rejoin the track. So you have to be careful with where you go and exit off pit road and when you get back on the throttle.
Now we get to see Trent Dinkel go in angry mode. He's got 17 laps to recover whatever he can. Can he get back onto the podium? Can he get back into the top 5? That is the name of the game now for Trent Dinkel. And the first driver on his hit list is going to be Clayton Ham. The second that Clayton Ham sees that blue and yellow entry behind him, he's going to start getting pretty worried because, of course, Trent Dinkel's going to be angry right now. It's not been the best season for Trent Dinkel. He'd tell you exactly the same thing in this series, in the Xfinity series. It's just all kind of gone wrong. It's gone wrong again. Trent Dinkel in the blue car, he's going to have the blue mist going.
He really is. He's got to be so careful with how he sets this run up here to continue on his way, working his way through the race as we pick up Clayton Ham heading into the bus stop.
Good run for Ham, a little bit out of shape for Robert Besaw Jr. These two who we said are just exactly matched almost every single week. They can't avoid each other. They're like Chris Hudson and Josh Daniels. They're always finding each other here in the middle of the pack. They've been promoted to the head of the pack here in the top 10. A little bit of a wiggle under the braking for Robert Besaw Jr. Clayton Ham, a little bit straighter, a little bit less squiggly. He hits the curb, though. It finally happened, Taylor. Somebody finally clipped it.
Somebody finally clipped it indeed, and now we'll see how it happens and how the handling of that car will be as he works his way through. But unfortunately for Clayton Ham, it's going to be a little bit treacherous for him as he makes his way into turn 1.
And there he is, that big blue shark behind him. Besaw locks it up into turn 1. That's going to make things easy for Trent Dinkel when he gets by Clayton Ham here. I do say when, because it is only a matter of time. Dinkel dives it to the inside of Clayton Ham. Full aggression, and as easy as they come. Trent Dinkel in the 9, back up into 9th. Still a lot more work for Dinkel to do. Besaw's next on his list, then Gamble, then Daniels. And honestly, I think there's so little time left in the race. Even though Dinkel is faster than basically anybody else on track right now, there's just so much of a gap. 29 seconds in the pits is a lot of time to make up.
It really is a lot of time to make up indeed, and it's going to be interesting to see how this can play out here as Trent Dinkel has a lot of work to do. He's still in the top 10, so not a terrible points night, but so far not what he needs to have if he wants to go for this championship.
Was trying to determine if those were new gloves for Trent Dinkel, but unfortunately we've caught him just as he gets onto the oval when he's not using his hands too much. There we see a little glimpse there. I don't know if there's maybe a new sponsor for private label Team Hype. We used to see Richard Reekin Jr.'s of gloves in that highlighter yellow, but Trent Dinkel with those custom private label Team Hype gloves, he needed to use them there through the bus stop. He was all sorts of out of shape.
He certainly was. He's got to hold on for dear life here as he progresses his way through. A lot of things still to come for him as he tries to hunt down the next competitor up ahead of him and working his way through. Really great battle for position as he tries to get around in the bus stop as he's trying to see what he's trying to get around Robert Besaw Jr. for that 8th spot.
Shark has arrived. Dinkel, while he's going for the pass on Besaw, he's looking on the floor. Who knows what he's looking for? Is there a cat or a dog somewhere down there? Either way, Trent Dinkel, he's got the dog in him. He's got P8.
He's got a lot of work to do here. He is up to P8. Lots of great racing action here.
Now he gets to sit for a few moments with his own thoughts, with his own skills, because Josh Daniels is 5 seconds up the road. Dinkel is about half a second a lap faster, so he's got a little bit of work to do. Matthew Long, though, our championship leader. He still exists. Remember him? And he's trying to get back into the top 10 here. Clayton Ham in the 7, Matthew Long in the 28. Championship leader versus Clayton Ham. Ham kind of opens the door there, albeit inadvertently, with a huge lockup. And your championship leader, after being disallowed from qualifying, he's back in the top 10. This is absolutely a race where he needed to minimize his losses, and he's done exactly that. Even with his championship rival, Abner Acosta, leading the race, he's still going to have about a 20-point championship lead after tonight, if my math is correct.
He certainly is looking to be that way as he's trying to hold on and try to see if he can pick up a couple of more spots, which could help keep him up in that championship points lead as we pick up Pat Harvey, who's inside the top 5, trying to hunt down, or it looks like James O'Brien right up ahead of him. Those two are about to do a battle for 4th.
Yeah, James O'Brien has lost a little bit of speed since the start of the race. We thought he would be competitive for the podium, but he's fallen back and back and back, and now he is still fighting for the podium technically if Luke Christian runs into a little bit of trouble, but he's very much in his lonesome here with a 6-second gap, and now with Pat Harvey behind him, he's in danger of falling out of the top 4.
He really is in danger of falling out of the top 4. We're going to keep an eye on him as he works his way through the International Horseshoe, drops the hammer, and now loses a little bit of time on James O'Brien. Has to make it all back up as they approach the kink.
Some numeric data for you. That last lap that Trent Dinkel just did, a 152.092. As you see Tom Amasi having a little bit of fun in the background. Trent Dinkel just ran his fastest lap of the race. He was a full 1.5 seconds faster than Robert Gamble. He was a 1 2/10 seconds faster than Josh Daniels. This is not over for Trent Dinkel. I'm not even going to count him out for the podium here with 14 laps to go. I probably should realistically, but anything's possible. I think a top 5 is probably reasonable.
Absolutely, I agree with you. A top 5 seems very reasonable for him as he is trying to do his best. Currently now 14 laps to go as they head over into the Le Mans chicane.
Here's what happened to our old friend Tom Amasi. Into the West Horseshoe, everything looks fine, and suddenly everything doesn't look fine. Just a little bit too late in the brakes. Tom Amasi, not a driver with a ton of road course experience, and that's a mistake that drivers with a ton of road course experience make.
It certainly is, so you have to be so careful and critical of where you set your runs up here. As they work through the tri-oval, you see the opening that we have over into turn number 1. Can we see the driver of Pat Harvey move up into P4? He's about to drop the hammer here and work his way over.
A little bit wide for James O'Brien. He's scuppered his momentum off of 4. Here comes Pat Harvey. This is his chance. Is he going to go for the move? Under braking, he is. He peeks to the inside. It's not late enough on the brakes, though. James O'Brien shuts the door.
Watching on here, this is going to be exciting. Can he be able to hold on as we pick up the 28 machine right now? Out on the track, he's trying to work his way up through. That's Matthew Long. He just got by one of the, I believe that was a lap car up ahead behind him right at the moment. It could have been also Robert VCO, which it is, as they work out of the International Horseshoe. He gets a good run. You got to be careful also. We saw what happened to Richard Reagan Jr. as he is out. As he comes through, we pick up the battle here for P4 between James O'Brien, Pat Harvey, as they work by the lap car of the 24 machine. Put him one lap down. That is Richard Pruitt as they work through NASCAR 1 and 2.
Pat Harvey is going to learn about the Daytona draft here coming into the bus stop. It's a fairly short straight with how fast these cars go in a straight line, so you're not getting the full effect of the draft, but under braking, Pat Harvey's still very close to the back of James O'Brien. Through the Le Mans chicane, Harvey throwing everything at it. O'Brien a little bit tighter, a little bit tidier, though. Again, Pat Harvey's momentum stunted, scuppered, all the synonyms. James O'Brien lives another day into the chicane.
He does live another day indeed as he works his way through. And coming out of NASCAR 3 and 4, they're heading into the chicane. Pat Harvey, does he set himself up for a run? No, he thinks better of it, gives him plenty of room as they come through the trial.
He's been trying to go for little bits of switchbacks. It just hasn't been working for him. There is another lap car coming up, though. Trying to do the lapped car math in my head. That's Jeff Chandler coming up there. Now we see him in that familiar black and shiny silver car, the chrome car. James O'Brien, is he going to catch him at an inopportune moment? That is exactly what he's hoping doesn't happen, and it is about to happen. Into the International Horseshoe. O'Brien to the inside. He locks up. Harvey has to lock up as well. That did actually work out for James O'Brien in the end of it all. Both drivers similarly held up there by Jeff Chandler, and nothing changes for the moment. Pat Harvey still keeps in touch with James O'Brien.
He's going to keep in touch and try to see what he can do here. O'Brien running smooth and consistent laps as they come out of the Western Horseshoe and really try to have a little bit of separation. It's trouble for Pat Harvey. He gets loose off the Western Horseshoe, loses about a tenth possibly to James O'Brien, but guides it back up as they enter the braking zone at turn 6.
Look at that virtual crowd over in the grandstands. It is a packed house at Virtual Daytona. I don't know what the attendance levels are. I don't know what the ticket salespeople are going to be releasing, but I'd say about 150,000 virtual people here at Daytona. That would be a good estimate here for the PRL NASCAR Cup Series, I think. Pat Harvey actually kind of ducks out of the draft this time into the Le Mans chicane. Doesn't use it at all. Just does his own thing, does his own run, does his own thing through the Le Mans chicane as well. Kind of stunts his momentum again. I think Pat Harvey needs to probably try and do something different there through the chicane, because every single time, that's where he's losing all of his momentum. That's where he's losing all of his time. And you can see that exactly here with Trent Dinkel just wringing the neck of this vehicle through the bus stop. And that's been perfect for him. He's to the back of Josh Daniels now.
He is on the back of Josh Daniels, and he is going to try to hold on here for dear life and put on a stellar drive here as they work their way through. Great battle for the competitors here.
But here comes Pat Harvey. Off of the chicane, he's finally gotten it done. He finally had put enough pressure on James O'Brien to get the door open, and the door is now closed as Pat Harvey passes the guy who qualified third up into fourth now. But Trent Dinkel, he's got a similar job to do here. Into turn 1, under braking. Josh Daniels on the outside, Dinkel on the inside. Remember, this is where these guys came together on lap 1. No deja vu here, though. Clean and green for Trent Dinkel. Up into P7 now. But the journey's not over. Robert Gamble's coming up next for him. And I'd say here, well, we do have about 11 laps to go in the race here. We're in somewhat of a calm moment in the race. We'll come back to Trent Dinkel in a moment, because things are in fact not calm. I have been misconstrued here, because Brett Pancari and Eric Papineau, they're putting on some more action for P14.
They certainly are, and they're going to continue to put on a stellar drive here as they work through the front straightaway chicane here. As Pancari gets a little bit of breathing room, starts to pull away as they head through the trial.
Remember Jeff Chandler and Richard Pruitt? Remember when they both went a lap down? They're suddenly battling for position as well. So even though they've both gone a lap down, they're still fighting for position. They're fighting for P18, the Reaper Speed Lab Chevrolet Camaro versus the Melendez Online Consulting Group, Pepsi, Frito-Lay, whatever, all the sponsors, number 24. Every battle for position matters. Every position pays points in the Precision Racing League, all the way down to the bottom, all the way down to 30th. The battle for P18 is just going to be just as hotly contested as any battle up front.
This is going to be highly contested indeed here as we watch these drivers duke it out and battle for position, as here comes Trent Dinkel to the inside of one of Robert Gimbel as they make their way through. A little smoke up ahead from either James O'Brien or Pat Harvey as they do battle, as Gimbel tries to cross over as they come through the trial.
Dinkel's made the move. Dinkel looks forward now, but now that we do have Trent Dinkel with us here, let's go for a little bit of a special treat. As some of you know, PRL doesn't just stand for Precision Racing League, it stands for Playing Race Cars Loud. So Taylor and I are going to take a little bit of a break here for one lap's time, and we're going to hand it over to the man himself, Mr. Trent Dinkel, to take us on a trip around Daytona. And there we go. We started a little bit late, so I gave Trent Dinkel a few extra corners in the limelight. I think he deserves it. But that is a trip around 3.56 miles at Daytona, behind the wheel of the number 9 with Trent Dinkel in control. And as soon as we tune back in, the battles kick back off. Josh Daniels and Robert Gamble have found each other, lapping another battle of Jeff Chandler and Richard Pruitt. Problems as well for Pat Harvey, who's had to come back down pit road. Do not know what happened to him. I don't think he's got an incident point penalty. I think he's potentially underfueled the car. I don't know what's happened to Pat Harvey, but he's run into trouble. Still in the box. This is looking like a potential penalty, as Trent Dinkel was in the box for 29.3 seconds. Harvey still in the box. I don't think he hit anything. I don't think he has damage, but it's a phantom. It's a mystery for Pat Harvey. It's all falling apart.
It certainly has all fallen apart for Pat Harvey. Very difficult situation for him, as he will fall back and probably go a lap down here very quickly as we pick up the battle of 6th position between Gamble and Joshua Daniels here for 6th position.
I'm gonna get all sorts of tongue-tied. Gamble Daniels, and get Dinkel in the mix as well. It's a tough game out here. Lots of similar last names here in the PRL. And a lot of drivers with red and black cars as well that we love to mix up. But here comes Daniels, here comes Gamble. Also, Pat Harvey does apparently have a meatball. Our intrepid insider, Nicholas Hunter, has finally entered the fray, and he has told us that Harvey did get a meatball. He has run into damage. We didn't see it, though, so it hasn't happened. That's what that means. If we didn't see it, it didn't happen. Pat Harvey, though, does have a meatball. He's got heavy damage. He's done for the night, most likely.
Yeah, he certainly is. A tough break indeed here for him, as he will be out of the race, as he will join several other drivers who are out of the race as we pick up the driver in that number 77 machine, who is trying to work his way further into the top 5.
Nick Hunter says he's sick, so we'll shame him. He's getting us sick. If I have a cold after tonight, I'm gonna be blaming Nick Hunter for coming in here contagious and all like. But anyway, Josh Daniels and Robert Gamble, huge lockup from Robert Gamble. And that's one way to hold the door open for somebody. Josh Daniels gets P6 for free.
He certainly does. That's going to be a big shakeup right now for these drivers as they set themselves up for a run and continue to watch the drivers battling for position as we continue to see how these drivers will work their way through. Under 10 laps to go as we see the driver of none other than Joshua Daniels try to now see if he can break into the top 5. He's got work to do. 4 seconds to catch up to the driver of Trent Dinkel.
Taylor, do you dare me to do some math again?
You know what? It's to your own fruition on that matter.
I think I'm going to do some math here. Well, first and foremost, before I do get to the math, Byron Johnson, I haven't mentioned him once tonight, and I have to do a little bit of math in my head to say that as well, because he has just been riding completely on his lonesome. It has been the loneliest night of anybody for Byron Johnson. He hasn't been battling with anybody. He hasn't run into any trouble. He hasn't crashed. He hasn't spun. He's just been doing Byron Johnson things and running P11. Unfortunately for him, things are about to get more difficult because Brett Pancari's on the scene. Eric Papineau is on the scene. Byron Johnson's easy day. As soon as we found him on track, it's about to get far less easy.
It certainly is about to get far less easier indeed here. So this is going to cause a lot of issues for him and could be detrimental for him as the race progresses.
Apparently what happened with Pat Harvey, he was at the Le Mans chicane on the back stretch. He just completely overcooked it and ate the tire wall. So bad luck, bad news for Mr. Pat Harvey. It's a very promising day for him. Running in the top 5, it's all come undone at, again, another place that always catches out drivers in real life. I remember a couple of years ago in the Xfinity Series race here, we had Earl Bamber making his one Xfinity start after all the success he's had in GT3 and sports car competition. He took an Xfinity car around the Daytona road course, and he met his demise there too. He wrecked an RCR car at the same place.
Such a unfortunate situation for him, and unfortunately it's going to be even more tricky as the race progresses.
Brett Pancari late on the brakes into turn 1. He's finding his footing here, but here is that Pat Harvey replay. The Mike Yao Panopticon misses nothing. Here we go. You're not going to get away with this one, Pat. Oh, he didn't even make it into the bus stop. He tried to make it through. Oh, and he bailed out. Unfortunately, when you bail out, you can't hit the tire wall after it. And Pat Harvey, he's going to be unhappy that we showed that replay, I think.
He probably will be indeed, and unfortunately for Pat Harvey, it's just going to be more issues for him, especially with such a good run he was having.
I do wonder if that was like a technical issue, because it looked like a bail to me. It looked like he was a little bit too late in the brakes, and he decided to just bail and go for a straight line. But also, the fact that he hit the wall, that's not a mistake that I'm used to seeing Pat Harvey making. So I do wonder if the brake just kind of went to the floor there and he couldn't get it stopped.
It certainly seems to be the case here as we watch on. These drivers continue to do battle for that position here as we continue to work their way through closing stages of tonight's race. As we see trouble there, that replay of Pat Harvey's severe damage to the suspension, as Pancari will try to see if he can work his way further up the standings.
Good on him for getting it back to the pits, though. That was quite the valiant effort. Brett Pancari still challenging here, still clipping away at Byron Johnson, but I'm going to do that math I was mentioning in my head. Trent Dinkel just ran one of the fastest laps of the race. He just ran a 1:51.8. Abner Acosta, though, has him beat. Abner Acosta ran the fastest lap of the race. Abner did a 1:51.6. Dinkel also did a 1:51.6, but it was just slightly slower. Dinkel is currently a second and a half faster than James O'Brien. P4 is not out of the question for Trent Dinkel. I think the podium definitely is with a 10-second gap, but Trent Dinkel could still recover P4 here.
He certainly can, so we'll see how this will play out for the competitors as they work their way through, closing down to the final moments as we see Trent Dinkel not going to be able to get into the podium by the looks of it, but at least we'll have a top 5 finish as he is about 5.9 seconds back from his teammate James O'Brien. Works through the Lamar chicane beautifully, setting some very quick lap times.
And Lou Christian is catching Chris Hudson as well. I think Hudson has used up his stuff a little bit. He had a very comfortable second place, and suddenly Lou Christian is closing and closing and closing. Within a matter of moments, with the pace Lou Christian's running, he's going to be within a second, and he is. Lou Christian's coming for second.
He is coming for second, and he is on the charge here as he works his way, trying to find a way to close that gap quickly as possible. As we see Chris Hudson and Lou Christian battle for that second spot. This is going to get exciting here in the closing stages.
You know how much faster Lou Christian was in that last lap than Chris Hudson? He was a full second faster. Things have fallen apart for Chris Hudson. That's 2 deep 153s in a row. I don't know if that's just mistakes in a row or if that's the tires completely falling off, but either way, here comes Lou Christian under braking into the West Horseshoe just much later, much better. Overcooks it a little bit on the exit, though, so all that momentum he accumulated, all that advantage he took, he lost most of it, but he's still within a second. He's still putting the pressure on Chris Hudson.
He still is putting the pressure, and he's going to keep on fighting in these closing stages of the race here. Really going to be interesting to see how this plays out between the two drivers as they work their way through. Keep up the fight, gentlemen. You still only have a few more laps to go as we see the shortest staircase, hopefully going to put on the fastest run of the race here to try to see if he can hold on.
Our Sean Heckman lookalike, keep in touch with Chris Hudson. We're going to keep watching this battle, though, but I do just want to update you on the Trent Dinkel cam. He has just set the fastest lap of the race. He's finally beaten Abner to that record. It's a 1:51.59 for Trent Dinkel. That is the fastest lap of the race. There it is, right on cue. He is flying to catch his teammate James O'Brien for 4th. And heck, if Chris Hudson and Lou Christian come together, if they have a little bit of an oopsie, if one of them loses it, it could be a podium for Trent Dinkel still.
It certainly can be, so a lot of things still to come here for our competitors as they work their way through the closing stages of this race. Question is going to be, can they be able to hold on here?
Can Chris Hudson hold on is a big question. That last lap, I'm going to refresh my timing, still 1:53.9. He's almost in the 1:54s. Those tires have absolutely fallen off the wagon for the number 43. Lou Christian a full second a lap faster into the International Horseshoe. Little bit of a diamond there for Chris Hudson, just trying to keep the momentum up. It is a struggle for Chris Hudson right now.
It really is a struggle for Chris Hudson. Can he be able to hold on here as he is struggling for grip at these late stages of the race?
He's currently running 1.5 seconds slower than his best laps. Meanwhile, Trent Dinkel's running his best laps of the race. Abner Acosta's running within 0.4, so Chris Hudson, normally a guy who's very, very good in the long runs at keeping the tires under him, at saving them, but he's feeling the pressure here. Back onto the oval, he's still got a pretty healthy gap. That's the place where he's at his best. He's always nursing about a second gap once we get onto the oval, but through the Le Mans chicane, through the bus stop, Luke Christian is very, very strong. He's throwing everything at this. He wants second place.
He does want second place indeed here. He's going to try and fight as hard as he can in order to come out on top with a chance to stay on the podium. A lot of great racing action here.
And I'm thinking, would this be Luke Christian's best result? He fought for a win earlier this season. He fought for multiple wins earlier this season. Couldn't quite get the job done. I don't think he's finished second, though. Byron Johnson's finished second. A couple other drivers have finished second this season, but Luke Christian, I think his best results have been top fives. But again, I'm going to say my line that I've been saying all season. This has been the Luke Christian season, whether it's on the ovals, whether it's on a road course here. This has been so much better than the Luke Christian we've seen in previous seasons. Imagine what Luke Christian could be like in Season 2. Could this be a guy who keeps improving and maybe goes on a Trent Dinkel trajectory of becoming a championship contender?
He certainly can be, and he is definitely going to be one of those future drivers who can be a championship competitor in this series, as he is definitely going to have a lot of work to do. But if the opportunity presents itself, he could be there to capitalize.
Now, iRating doesn't mean everything, especially on the road side, because all these guys are NASCAR guys. Not all of them are experienced on the road course side, but Chris Hudson's road iRating is 3,400. Luke Christian's road iRating is 1,700, exactly half of that, and Luke Christian is the faster of the two right now. So iRating doesn't always mean everything. You've got some greatly skilled drivers here learning their ways around the road courses, and maybe tonight will tell Luke Christian, you know what, I should pick up the road courses more in the official series. I should take the wheel out more and do some more road course racing, because I might be good at it.
He certainly might be good at it indeed here. This is going to be exciting to see how this will play out for these competitors as we watch them work their way through. Heading in now, Brett Pancari now. He wants to try to work further up into the ranking here as he sits in 12th, trying to find his way around the 18 of Byron Johnson.
Princess Daisy still doing some work here. Byron Johnson has been completely calm under pressure. He's made no mistakes. He's made no stumbles. But Brett Pancari needs a little bit more than that. Luke Christian, though, he's had a great exit out of the Le Mans chicane. This is his best run yet. How late on the brakes can he be, though? Into the apron chicane here. The special next-gen apron chicane. 2 laps to go. Abner Acosta's taken the 2 laps to go signal. Will be the white flag next time by, and Luke Christian loses it off the chicane. He should have enough time to recover before James O'Brien comes around. He should still be able to hang on to the podium. But Luke Christian threw everything at Chris Hudson, and it was a little bit too much. And here comes James O'Brien to dump him off the podium.
He is really trying to find a way here and trying to find the opening. He will make a big dive down as they make the run over to turn number 1. Watching on this battle for position here, but James O'Brien also in the mix right here as these 3 drivers are going to battle for the last step of the podium. 2 laps to go.
And could Trent Dinkel do it? That's the little whoops that he needed. He needed a driver to spin. He needed a driver to take them out of contention. Now, if Dinkel can make 2 passes in 2 laps, he may have a shot here. See Abner Acosta in the bottom of your screen there on the right. He's going to take the white flag. He's in complete control. We're not going to worry about him, but here comes Trent Dinkel. Set an even faster lap on the last lap, a 1:51.57. He sees the podium in his sights, and there goes Luke Christian with another moment. That's going to be an easy move for Trent Dinkel. He's only got his teammate to pass now for the podium.
He's got a lot of work to do, but he's going to put the effort in and try to see what he can do in this stage of the race. He is going to fight for it here as they come out of turn 6. Big slide for Luke Christian as Trent Dinkel will start to pull away and now move up further as Abner Acosta comes to take the white flag.
If you saw that face from Luke Christian there, that was the I just threw a podium away on the broadcast face. I know I've made that face personally in the F3 series in the PRL, so I know your pain there, Lou, but there will be another time. And it was a great race for him. Just that one little mistake gets everything unstuck. Abner Acosta, though, has been completely mistake-free, and he's actually just stolen Trent Dinkel's thunder. He set an even faster lap. The win wasn't good enough for Abner. He had to set an even faster lap, a 1:51.4 on these older tires. He's exhausted most of the fuel. Abner Acosta's not just satisfied with a win, he wants to dunk on the field even harder.
He really is going to dunk on even harder as they work their way through around the circuit. A lot of great racing, but he is just being smooth and consistent, as always he has been since being a part of the PRL.
You basically have to look back half the track to see Trent Dinkel. That's how big of a gap Abner Acosta's pulled here over second place Chris Hudson, but Dinkel is within touching distance. Dinkel could take the podium here from James O'Brien. We'll look back there when we get the chance because we do want to see the pass for third place if it does happen. But Abner Acosta off of turn 2. He's got about half the track to go here through the Le Mans chicane, through the bus stop. We'll tune back into him for a second, but here comes Trent Dinkle into the West Horseshoe. He's running out of opportunities. He's very late in the brakes. He's putting the pressure on his teammate. James O'Brien doesn't open the door, though. He's going to have to wait for the bus stop. But rounding the final couple of corners, here is Abner Acosta. He's been the road course master in this series for the longest time. He's had Trent Dinkle to fight with him, though, but one mistake basically opened the door for him. And this is a historic night for Abner Acosta, because this is win number 54 in the PRL. That puts Abner Acosta on his lonesome second all-time in wins in the PRL. Abner Acosta wins at home on the road course at Daytona in dominant fashion. We look back 40 seconds to Chris Hudson, who is all on his lonesome. He's got 37 seconds ahead. He's got 9 seconds behind. He had quite the pressure on him there from Lou Christian, but he kept it calm. He kept it tidy, and Chris Hudson will get second for his efforts. It's been a great run through the Le Mans chicane for Trent Dinkle. He may have a shot under breaking into this chicane here, coming a few seconds back, but Chris Hudson, he's under control. He gets a very, very hard-fought second. But here comes Trent Dinkle. Is he going to throw everything at his teammate here for third? He's going to go for a switchback off the exit. O'Brien parks the bus, though, and Trent Dinkle is going to come home just short. He needed one more lap, one more corner. It's P4 for Trent Dinkle. It's a podium for James O'Brien.
It certainly is a podium for James O'Brien. A great night for him, and he is definitely going to get some much-needed points for tonight.
Trent Dinkle offs the vehicle. I think I can understand the frustration with tonight, but still P4, a phenomenal recovery for Trent Dinkle, so close to the podium. And another podium for James O'Brien. He wasn't here last week. He missed last week, which was unfortunate, but in every single round that James O'Brien has been here in the PRL NASCAR Cup Series this season, he has finished in the top 6. So with his success, with Abner Acosta's success, with Matthew Long, your championship leader, only finishing 8th, this championship has just suddenly been blown a little bit more wide open. There's your finishing results. Acosta, Hudson, O'Brien, your podium. Trent Dinkle just short from P3. Lou Christian comes home in 5th place after coming so close to finishing on the podium. The spin took him out of it, though. Daniels, Gamble, championship leader Matthew Long, Ham, and Besaw bring us down to the end of the top 10. Then Byron Johnson did end up holding on to P11, 1 lap down, ahead of Brett Pancari, Papineau, Beaver, Walden, Walter, Chandler, and Pruitt. That's how fast Acosta was tonight. He's lapped all the way down to P10. Then we get into the used car lot of drivers with heavy damage. Pat Harvey did actually get back out on track, so good for him, as did Tom Amasi. Stephen Hassett, though, was not able to. He ended up 16 laps down, as did Jose the Funky Cold Medina. Richard Regan Jr. had a strange spin, but did not make it to the end either. And Mark Kalin also had a little bit of an oopsie himself and did not bring it to the finish. But I believe we will have our winner, Abner Acosta, joining us here in a matter of moments. He's always fashionably late. I will name and shame Abner Acosta here for the moment, but for now, we get to talk to our second-place finisher, who probably felt a little bit lonely at the end, so let's give him a friend in Taylor Burris.
Here with Abner Acosta.
Chris Hudson.
Hudson, my apologies, Chris. A great drive for you in the Krispy Kreme machine here at Daytona. Walk us through, though, what were some of the things, though, that you had to overcome with this podium finish, even though you were in the top 5 for a majority of the race?
Yeah, it was. I was pretty alone for a good amount of that. I know Trent had that little issue at the beginning, and he came storming back. I wasn't really looking for a fight. I just wanted to, lay down my lap times and try to keep it straight. I thought I'd be able to get a good finish if I could just, minimize my mistakes. And then at the end, I really started getting close on fuel, and so I started trying to do some fuel saving, and then Lou was all over me, and things were getting really intense there. And then unfortunately, Lou made a little mistake there on the last chicane, and I was able to bring it home from there. But yeah, no, it was a good race. I'm super happy with second with these guys. I mean, I'm always happy finishing this high up, so it was a good race.
Well, before we let you go and celebrate this podium finish, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, as always, my mom and dad, and love racing. Josh Daniels, Jose Medina, Thomas Massey. We all we put in the work during the week, and Josh really does a lot for the team, and really enjoy racing for Love Racing, and I think we're having a good season. So I'm hoping we're going to continue that on through the rest of the year.
Well, all right, congratulations. That is Chris Hudson's coming home with a podium finish here tonight. As we take a look here and see who will be the next one to join us.
Abner Acosta has finally joined us as my voice cracks in the all-time way. But Abner Acosta is here. Abner Acosta, 40 seconds over Chris Hudson there. How lonely are you right now? You got to be pretty lonely up there.
Yeah, I got a pretty good lead. Trent was really fast. I honestly pretty sure he was faster than me, but I guess he just made a mistake in turn 1, and I think he got a penalty coming out the pits. He doesn't know why yet, but I'm sure if he would have been out there, it would have been a really tight battle because it was super fast. But I got lucky that I guess with his mistakes, and I was able to just pull away.
And with Matthew Long having to drive us away from the back of the field, this is kind of even things up a little bit more in the championship. With you, with Matt, with your teammate James, it's become a three-way battle for the championship again with 3 weeks to go. The wild card at Daytona's next week. Is it too early to start thinking about fighting for the championship, or is that in your mind right now?
Wait, no, that's been in my mind since last week, but I choked last week, so I think I didn't want to waste my drought week because I have a busy real life schedule coming up, so I don't know what's gonna happen. Obviously, I'm gonna try to make all the races, but I think last week was the really kind of like I don't want to say nail in the coffin, but I wanted to come in here strong since I know I'm a strong road course guy, and obviously messed up last week. But yeah, this definitely catches me up. I think maybe like 10 points or something, but he's still way far out ahead, so it's possible. We're definitely thinking points race from now on for sure.
We'll pretend last week didn't happen. We'll do that just for you. Congrats on the win tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow night, I guess, for GT4s.
Oh, God. I got to practice for that. Thanks for the reminder.
We'll let you get off here. Go do some practice. Go drive that Aston Martin around. Abner Acosta, your winner tonight for the 54th time in the PRL, second all-time. So great statistics for him. And right with one private label team hype driver, we've got another in James O'Brien here with us. That was the ultimate pressure there on the final lap with Trent coming up on you.
Yeah, I had no idea how I was going to make that. I think he was pulling a second on me a lap, and I was doing the math in my head, and I was like, this doesn't add up. There's no way. And the weakest part of my lap, where the whole time, was the bus stop and the chicane. I just couldn't figure it out. I didn't feel comfortable. Made a lot of little small mistakes. And my only hope was parking it in the bus stop, knowing that I saw him trying to go for the switchover, and I was like, all right, well, this is only wide enough for one, so I'm just going to sit here for a second and make you check up before I go. And it worked. And so I'm sure he's not happy about it, but we'll laugh about it later.
So every single race you've been here this season, you've been in the top 6. It's an incredible run of consistency. Can you keep it up for 3 more weeks?
That's what I used to do all the time, and pretty much what I want to keep doing. We always seem as a team to do really, really well at super speedways. Hopefully it didn't just jinx us. So obviously you never know what's going to happen there. I could finish 33rd. But the plan is, yes, top 5 every time. Get rid of the tiny mistakes that kind of plagued me at the beginning of this race. Hopefully those don't carry over. I just didn't feel comfortable in the car when we started. But it came to me later, so luckily we don't really have to worry about that next week.
Can I call you road course ringer James O'Brien now after the IRO4 podium?
Oh yeah, oh man, I could have won that one last week too. At not Lessart, Villeneuve. I'm kind of angry that I didn't get the win there, but no, road course thing is something I really enjoy in real life. I coach drivers at racetracks. That's what I missed last week. I was actually at a racetrack coaching people on how to drive their car on track. I'm just not the best at it. I think I'm better at oval, so I've always stuck to that, but I enjoy road racing more. Before Abner and Trent stepped foot in this league, I used to be one of the top guys on the road course, but every year the competition gets harder, which is good. So you see me slipping back to 7th, and it just makes me have to work harder.
It's a very, very high level of competition here in the PRL. Congrats on 3rd place here, James.
Thank you.
James O'Brien, your podium getter, if that's a verb, and potentially a road course ringer. We'll think about that. We'll debate that. We got one more driver to talk to, the driver who finished just behind him. Really quick here with Trent Dinkle. Trent, your teammate parked the bus through the final chicane, but that was an incredible drive forward at the end there. You seem to find, I can't even describe it. It was inhuman speed.
Yeah, I just wish I wouldn't have been, in like 10th place having to try and find that speed, because I still have no idea what gave me that black flag on pit road, because I don't think I was speeding, and unless there's like some line you can't cross deeper, like out once you get back onto the track, and maybe I just went over it a little too much. But yeah, that whole race is just the perfect, like, I don't even know the word, but the curse of my season.
The Trent Dinkle season. That's what we've had to call it, unfortunately. But
yeah, it's been bad.
You did answer my question, because we were wondering if you sped on the entry to pit road, if you had a little bit of an oopsie on pit exit, but it seems like it was just a phantom penalty.
Yeah, I don't really... Yeah, I don't know what it was. I mean, it gave the tires another chance to cool down while we were in pit road, so I don't know if that helped with the speed at the end. So, I know Abner looks like he got the fastest lap out of the race, but, every time I was on a good lap, I'd catch somebody in the bus stop, or, and then, yeah, that was just a good fight with James. I think if Lou wouldn't have spun in front of us, and obviously that wouldn't have been an extra spot, but I think I would have caught him, but because I had to, get around Lou and then get to James, and then obviously I'm not going to just punt him through that NASCAR chicane either.
Nick Hunter has just checked the iRacing logs, and he says it was an unsafe pit exit somehow. I don't know how. Yeah, I didn't see an unsafe pit exit. Did you?
I don't know, because unless the pit road still ends where it does for the IMSA racing, but the pit speed cone is at the end of if we were on the normal oval track. So I didn't think that there was actually any more restrictions that you couldn't use, so I don't know. It is what it is. I mean, yeah. I still finished 4th. I would have liked to have been up there, because I think quite a few of the laps at the end of the race, I was a good bit faster than Abner, so I think it would have been interesting to see if I would have been able to close up that 4-second gap on him. But
well, we'll see you and the cat next week at Daytona, and
yeah, the cat
gonna open up the door. We'll see anything can happen. Congrats on the run tonight. We'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.
Trent Alonius Dinkle, P4 tonight, so close to the podium, Taylor, and that's going to be about it for our coverage tonight here. Nice, quick road course race won by the road course guy, Abner Acosta. But this is not the only night of PRL competition every single week. It is the night we hope you'll join us next Sunday, though. Auto Club Speedway, or it's actually Daytona International Speedway. Auto Club coming up in 2 weeks' time. Daytona coming up next week. The Oval at Daytona. It's a restrictor plate track. It is a super speedway. Literally anything can happen. We'll break out the random number generator, and we'll see who brings it on the super speedway. Auto Club coming in 2 weeks, and then the championship finale will be at Las Vegas. I had to think for a second there. But as I was saying, this is not the only night of PRL action every week. Tomorrow night, on Mondays, it's GR86s and GT4s. On Tuesdays, it's the GT3 doubleheader. On Wednesdays, it's the NASCAR Truck and Xfinity Series. And on Thursdays, it's the IRO4 and F3 Series. We hope you can join us for any or all of them. But for now, I've been Joey Tebben. Taylor Burris has been Taylor Burris. Our producer has been Mike Yao. Until we see you next time, so long.